Welcome to another episode of Books and Bytes.
Great to be here.
Today we're diving into a classic, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry's The Little Prince.
Ah, yes. Such a wonderful book.
Published back in 1943, right, by Saint-Exupéry, who was a French aviator and writer.
That's him. And it's often labeled a children's book, but, well...
There's so much more to it, isn't there? It's really this poetic novella full of fantasy, allegory, quite deep philosophical stuff, actually.
Absolutely. It might look simple with the drawings and short chapters, but it tackles huge themes. Love, loss, loneliness, and the often baffling world of grown-ups.
So our mission today, if you will, is to really explore the essential bits of this book and figure out why it still resonates so strongly.
Sounds good. It's got that enduring appeal, hasn't it?
Definitely. And the setup is quite unique. It's told by this aviator stranded in the Sahara Desert, who then meets the little prince, this boy from another asteroid, B612.
Right. And maybe we should start with the structure.
Yeah.
Because that's quite interesting in itself.
Yeah, good idea. It's got those 27 short chapters.
Exactly. And each one sort of builds on the last, giving us these glimpses into the prince's thoughts, his travels, what he discovers, all through his very innocent viewpoint.
And the tone is quite distinct, too. It's tender, whimsical.
But also kind of melancholic underneath it all, wouldn't you say? It really stays with you.
It does. Okay, so let's dig into the key characters. The narrator, the aviator himself, he seems pretty important.
Oh, hugely important. He's like the bridge for us, isn't he? Between the adult world and the prince's wisdom.
He's an adult, but he hasn't totally lost that childlike wonder.
Precisely. Remember his frustration early on about adults not getting his drawing of the boa constrictor eating an elephant.
Yeah, they just saw a hat.
Exactly. So meeting the prince lets him and us kind of see things differently, question those, well, often illogical adult priorities.
And the little prince himself, what's key about him?
Well, his curiosity, I think. It's just relentless. And his gentleness.
He asks so many questions.
He does. He's trying to make sense of things, especially adult behavior, and really he's on a quest to understand love, relationships, all the big stuff.
Which brings us to the rose on his home planet. She's such a big part of that quest for understanding love.
She really is. She's not just a flower he waters, is she?
No, definitely not. She's proud, maybe a bit vain.
Yet fragile, too.
Yeah.
She represents, I think, love with all its beauty, but also its contradictions. Her prickliness, her demands, maybe they're just her way of wanting connection, needing care.
It shows love isn't always simple.
Not at all. It needs work, understanding, looking past the thorns, so to speak.
Okay, then he leaves his planet and eventually meets the fox on Earth. That feels like a turning point.
A massive turning point. The fox is like a mentor figure.
He teaches him about taming, right?
Yeah, exactly. This idea that you create bonds, real connections through time, patience, and effort. It's not instant.
And that creates responsibility.
A huge responsibility. You become responsible forever for what you have tamed. That's such a core line.
And it's the fox who says that other incredibly famous line.
One sees clearly only with the heart. What is essential is invisible to the eye.
Just encapsulates so much of the book's philosophy.
It really does. And it helps the prince understand his rose, doesn't it? He sees all those other roses on Earth.
And realizes they aren't the same.
Right. His rose is unique because he tamed her, because of the time, the love, the care he invested. That bond makes her essential to him.
Then there's the snake. He's a bit unsettling.
He is, yeah. Very enigmatic, speaks in riddles. He represents something deeper, maybe mortality at the end of a journey.
He offers to send him home.
Which is obviously quite ambiguous. It foreshadows the prince's departure, makes us think about life, death, what home even means beyond just a place.
Before Earth, though, the prince visits those 6 asteroids, meeting all those grown-ups.
Ah, yes, the parade of adult archetypes.
Can you quickly run through them? They each seem to represent a different kind of folly.
Definitely. There's the king, who needs subjects but rules over nothing. The vain man who just wants applause.
The drunkard, drinking to forget he's ashamed of drinking. A sad little loop.
Right. Then the businessman, obsessively counting stars he thinks he owns. The lamplighter, just following orders without question. And the geographer.
Who knows about places but has never actually seen them.
Exactly. It's a brilliant critique, really. Seen through the prince's straightforward view, all these adult obsessions, power, vanity, possessions, blind routine, just seem completely absurd and meaningless.
Which ties into that central theme, the absurdity of the adult world.
It does. Adults getting caught up in numbers and superficial things, losing sight of what's truly important.
And another thing we've touched on is the nature of love. It's presented as something active, right? Not passive.
Very much so. It's about attention, care, connection, taming. It's about making someone unique to you through that investment, not about possessing them.
There's also a really strong defense of imagination and innocence.
Oh, absolutely. The whole book champions that childlike perspective against rigid adult rationality.
Like that boa constrictor drawing again.
Exactly. And that quote, all grown-ups were once children, but only few of them remember it. That says it all, really. A call to remember that part of ourselves.
The prince's journey itself feels like it's about loneliness, too, and searching for connection.
Yeah, I think so. He's traveling, searching, trying to understand, looking for somewhere or someone to connect with, looking for home, in a sense.
And the ending. It's sad, but also kind of hopeful, his disappearance.
It's deeply ambiguous, isn't it? The snake bite implies death, sure, but the narrative suggests something more like transcendence, a return to a star.
So love and connection persist, even after someone is gone.
That seems to be the implication, that memory keeps them alive. Think about that line the prince tells the narrator about the stars.
Only you will have stars that can laugh.
Exactly. The memory of the prince transforms the narrator's whole perception of the universe. It suggests love endures beyond the physical.
Let's quickly recap some key symbols. We mentioned the rose representing love and vulnerability. What about the baobabs?
The baobabs. Those are like bad habits or negative thoughts, right? Things you have to deal with when they're small or they'll take over and destroy everything. Needs constant vigilance.
Makes sense. The fox.
Friendship, wisdom, the importance of emotional bonds, taming.
The stars.
Wonder, mystery, memory, maybe the unattainable, and laughter, eventually.
The snake, we talked about mortality, return. What about the well in the desert?
Ah, the well. That's about hidden truths, isn't it? Inner nourishment. Something precious you find through searching, through effort, even in a desolate place.
It's amazing how packed with meaning this little book is, and the quotes just stick with you. We've mentioned a few great ones.
It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Hard to beat that one.
True. Any others that stand out for you?
I always liked what makes the desert beautiful is that somewhere it hides a well. It speaks to finding hidden value, hope.
And maybe the most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or touched. They're felt with the heart. Reinforces that core message again.
And one more connecting things. The stars are beautiful because of a flower that cannot be seen. Linking that vastness to that personal, invisible bond. Beautiful.
So, wrapping up our deep dive on The Little Prince, what's the big takeaway? The enduring message?
I think fundamentally it's a call for adults to, perhaps, rediscover some essential truths.
Yeah.
About connection, about what really matters, things may be forgotten along the way.
And for younger readers,
maybe to cherish that clarity of heart, that ability to see what's truly essential. It's really about valuing the invisible, the things felt with the heart, over the purely material or superficial.
A beautiful way to put it. Well, if this conversation has made you want to pick up the book or maybe read it again with fresh eyes,
which is always a good idea with this one,
then definitely grab a copy of The Little Prince. You can find a link in the description.
And maybe as you read, think about which of those adult follies, the king, the vain man, the businessman you see mirrored perhaps in the world today. It's quite thought-provoking.
That's a great reflection point. Or think about what you have tamed in your life and the responsibilities and, well, the joys that come with those special connections.
It really does keep offering new insights, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And subscribe to Books and Bytes.